Hello friends, in this episode let us see what are the SLAs if you are creating a virtual machine in a single zone, and if you are creating a virtual machine in an availability set, and if you are creating a virtual machine in an availability zone, which will have three different SLAs. When you are creating a virtual machine as a single VM, it will be placed in one particular data center. When there is a failure of the zone, and there is a failure of the rack or the server in the data center, you will not be able to access the virtual machine. The virtual machine will be simply offline. That is why Microsoft has different SLAs when it comes to deploying virtual machine as a single virtual machine. And when you place the virtual machine in an availability set, and when you are placing the virtual machine in availability zone, when you create a virtual machine as a single virtual machine, it will be 99.9% SLA. And when you are placing the virtual machine in an availability set, it will be 99.95% of SLA. And when you are using the virtual machine in multiple availability zone, then it will be 99.99% of SLA. When you are creating a virtual machine and placing the virtual machine in an availability set, you are ensuring that if there is a failure of the rack or the server, that will not impact the virtual machine, because the virtual machines will be placed in multiple racks and multiple servers. That is the reason Microsoft provides SLA for availability set as 99.95%. But the VMs what you are going to create and place in the availability set, it will be in a single data center. When you create a virtual machine and place in an availability zone, you are ensuring that these virtual machines are spread across multiple zones. Even if one of the zone failure happens, there will be no impact to the virtual machine, whatever you have created in another availability zone. Availability zones are in the same region but in different location. Do not get confused about availability sets or availability zones. These are two different features offered by Microsoft. When you talk about availability set, even though there will be multiple virtual machines created, that virtual machines will be in the same data center. Each zone has multiple data centers, and within the data center you will have racks and racks of servers. When you create a virtual machine and place in an availability set, you are creating the virtual machine and putting it to one of the rack and one of the server. When placing a virtual machine in one of the rack and one of the server, if the rack or the server fails due to the hardware issue or any problem with the rack, or even the hypervisor can have the problem. In this particular case, then the virtual machine, whatever you have created, it will be offline. Hence, in an availability set, it is ensured that the virtual machines are placed on multiple racks and multiple servers. That is the reason Microsoft recommends to have an availability set. And when you place the virtual machine in an availability set, even if one of the rack fails, there will be no impact to the virtual machine what you have created. You have multiple virtual machines which are sitting on multiple racks. Maximum racks what you can have is 3. There is also something called as update domain. Each rack has multiple servers, and within the particular rack, the servers whichever it can be accommodated, these servers are placed inside the rack. You can simply go on naming the server as rack 0, server 01, or server 002 and server 003 until the capacity of the rack which can hold all these servers. These servers are physical servers. Placing the virtual machine in the same rack but on different server, if server 01 fails, server 02 does not have any impact on which the virtual machine is created. This is the concept of update domain, how Microsoft Azure will be using. The fault domain or failure domain is basically the racks, the physical rack. Failure domain is referring to the hardware part of the availability set, and these are the racks and physical servers, because each rack has its own power boundary and it has its own cooling and network boundary. Combination of fault domain and updomain is what availability set is all about. In availability set, whatever virtual machines which you are going to create, and if it is in the update domain, for example, if the virtual machines are placed in their same rack 00, and one of the virtual machine is in server 01 and the other virtual machine is in server 02, due to any of the maintenance, hypervisor maintenance, because of the operating system of the hypervisor itself, it is Microsoft operating system. When Microsoft operating system has an update or service pack release, or it has to be patched, then that particular server will be taken under maintenance. When you take the server for maintenance, the virtual machines which are running on that particular server will not be available. You know that whenever there is a patching or whenever there is a service pack installed, then the server will be rebooted. So until the server gets rebooted, all the virtual machines placed on that particular server or that particular Hyper-V host will not be accessible. Then you might ask a question, so what will be the availability set role? The availability set role is basically to ensure to give you 99.95% of SLA, because the virtual machines, whatever you are placing, it will be spread across multiple racks and multiple servers. So combination of 3 fault domains and 20 update domains, you have placed all the virtual machines in different racks and different servers. Even if the patching is happening and servers are getting rebooted, there will be no impact to your virtual machines what you have created. Also, Microsoft ensures that whenever there is a patching done on one particular rack and one particular server, the other server will not be impacted. And the virtual machines which are running on other servers, for example, if server 2 is getting patched, server 1 will not be touched for patching. It will be done under different maintenance. This is the picture of fault domain and update domain, and this can be checked in Microsoft document. This is how fault domain and update domain works. As I said, the fault domain is maximum to 3 and you have maximum of 20 update domains. So basically you are placing your virtual machines in multiple servers and multiple racks so that you will get better SLA for your virtual machines what you have created. I hope the concept of availability set is clear. In availability zone, what you are doing basically is you are creating a virtual machine and placing the virtual machine in different zones. These zones are in a different location. Even though these zones are part of the same region, a region can have at a minimum of 3 availability zones. When you create a virtual machine, these virtual machines will be placed in one particular zone in one location. The another virtual machines will be placed in another location which is far away from each zones. So the impact of the virtual machine failing or the data center failing of one particular zone is very minimal and unlikely very low.